Welcome back. Let's take a look at the front pages of the papers right now as we discuss with our in-house guest who's here with us. And ladies and gentlemen, we do have Mr. Ikechukwu Amaechi, who joins us live this morning on Breakfast Central's front pages. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good morning, Joe. My pleasure once again.
Good morning, Mr. Amaechi.
I can tell
quite a lot has happened since the last time you were here. We're going to just get straight into it because there's so much to unpack.
A lot. Enjoyment, relaxation is what Mr. Amaechi is
America looks good on you, Mr.
Yes,
Amaechi.
sir. Yes, sir.
Are you sure you won't reconsider your decision to come back?
No.
There's no place like home.
No place like home.
Okay.
Anyway, let's start off first with our very first paper this morning. Don't forget that you can be part of the show. Just call the number you'd find there on the screen, and we'll like to hear your thoughts. You have just 1 minute to share your thoughts. Let's go first with the Daily Independent. That'll be our very first newspaper this morning on Breakfast Central. Daily Independent has it. A Greek ICT financial services boosts Nigerian economy in Q3. That's agriculture, ICT, and also financial services boosts Nigerian economy in Q3. That's what we are hearing. Millions of Nigerian drivers at risk due to fairly used tires. Binga, this is scary because just yesterday I had to change 12 of my tires.
I don't think
an
it's
arm and a leg.
Okay, I mean, two things can be right at the same time. The tires and the roads, and I want to appeal to Lagos State government. Please fix the potholes.
I was
deplorable. I was trying to avoid a pothole yesterday, and I hit the culvert. I have to do some paint job on my car that I did not plan for. That money could have gone into purchase of Cerelac for my baby that is at home. So please, Lagos State government, I appeal to you to do something about the state of the road.
Defense Minister Badaro resigns. That's on page 2. It's one of the biggest stories. US, France, UK provided support to Nigeria, according to Ribadu, he says, and visits Kotangora over abduction of pupils. In that visit, he said the girls are doing okay, even though they are in captivity. Nigerians are asking, what do you mean by the girls are doing well when they are in captivity?
They are monitoring them via drone technology.
Let's come to Mr. Ikechukwu. Let's hear his analysis. I don't know about the drone. If they told you that is the drone they're using. Let's start off first with Defense Minister. Everything on insecurity, terrorism, insecurity. Defense Minister resigned.
The support from UK.
And so on, support from UK, and then, of course, the statement made.
Well, the resignation of former governor of Jigawa State, Badaru, yesterday as the Minister of Defense did not come to me as a surprise. I think if there has been a surprise there all this time, it is what was he actually doing as the Minister of Defense. His and that of the Minister of State for Defense, Matawale, the former governor of Zamfara State, if you ask me, some of those square pegs in Tinubu's round hole when it came to appointment of ministers over 2 years ago, there is no way Alhaji Badaru could have been an effective Minister of Defense. I don't know the criteria Mr. President used in appointing them in the first place. But assuming he thought because they are from that part of the country where insecurity was and still remains rife, and therefore, and also having been former governors in those states, in 2 of those states, that they may be able to have a handle on issues of security. But the question to have asked is that even when they were governors, how well did they handle security in their states? Matawale, for instance, is a known bandit appeaser. He prefers going out there to negotiate with them rather than using the force of arms, the kinetic means to subdue them. So if we go by what has been achieved in the last 2 years under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, when it comes to security, then it goes without saying that Badaru, as Minister of Defense, and Matawale, as Minister of State for Defense, they have failed. And it didn't come as a surprise that he had to throw in the towel. Of course,
some Nigerians are even asking that it should have come earlier when you remove the service chiefs, just, change the entire security architecture, NSA and the defense ministers. There's also a question about the functions of the substantive Minister of State and the Minister of State. Don't they have overlapping functions? Because there are reports that they even had a fallout.
That is all part of the crisis of governance we are experiencing under Bola Ahmed Tinubu. And this is rather unfortunate. During the 2023 campaigns, the mantra was that Tinubu was the chief strategist. He was this, he was that. He's a talent hunter. He's a guy who has the capacity to delegate and to assemble. Of course, if you remember
Chatham House,
when he coined the word teamship, he said that his was going to be a teamship where he will delegate responsibilities. So that was the impression everybody had, that this is a guy who has a talent, who has the capacity for hunting talents, and that when he becomes the president, he will replicate the so-called magic he did in Lagos State by assembling the best hands. But we have seen so far that he's not been able to do that. Look at even the ministerial, the ambassadorial list that just now came out, and people are scratching their heads and asking, what is this about?
After 2 years of waiting.
After 2 years of waiting. So, like you said, Benga, of course, I said it earlier, that the surprise is that the resignation is coming this late. The guy had no business being the defense minister in the first place. Because, look, we are going to...
Mr. Amaechi, please hold your thoughts for a second. We have a call from Godwin Koinos from Ikorodu. Hello, good morning, Godwin. Go ahead and share your thoughts with us.
Okay, good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I think I'm surprised to your position as regarding the resignation of the Minister of Defense. Under his regime, we've had very serious insecurity challenges, and there was no sign of solution in sight. So I believe that his resigning from this government is long overdue anyways. I also expect his Minister for State Defense will also follow suit. I equally expect that the government, if we have to take them seriously regarding the fight against terrorism, they should endeavor to see that the likes of Gumi that have been preaching hate speech should also be questioned according to the law. Nobody should be bigger than the law. I also expect the president to personally supervise what happens in the Ministry of Defense. Because recently we also had in the news that just before the KB kidnapping case, military were withdrawn from that school. Who was the person that gave that order for the military to withdraw from that school? These are the kind difficult questions the president should ask and make it public, and then bring that person to book. Then we'll begin to take the president seriously, and then the nation will begin to know peace. A lot of other things that needs to be done anyway. But I feel that also that the Office of the National Security Advisor should go to somebody from the middle belt or from the southwest or from the south-south who has the interest of all religion at heart, not where it is currently. Because we understand that this fight should be taken, because most of the security operatives, the top hierarchy is in the Fulani hands, as you can see. But I'm not even as a person, but I felt that sensitive office should be taken to maybe the southwest, where the president comes from, so that the person who holds that office will have the interest of the president and the country at heart. I might be wrong, but I just felt that office should be where, because it's a sensitive office. Thank you. That is my contribution.
Thank you.
I mean, does ethnicity really matter, or competence in appointment? He raised pertinent issues. Now, since we're talking about competence, oftentimes people feel, the defense portfolio should go to people that have security experience. You look at the United States, for example, the current Secretary of Defense is a veteran, and the last Secretary of Defense was also a veteran. And you also look at the position of National Security Advisor. But others would argue that the hood does not make the monk. Looking at the present realities with regards to security, Joe and I discussed this earlier. Joe is very certain that the immediate past CDS, CG Musa, would likely be the replacement for Mr. Badaru. Are you of the opinion, because he was spotted at the villa yesterday? Maybe you went for an early Christmas visit. Who knows? But as a veteran journalist, can we put 2 and 2 together? Do you agree with Joe that it's likely going to be the next defense minister? And it's always good to put round pegs in round holes.
Well, like you rightly pointed out, he was at the presidential villa yesterday, apparently to have a meeting with Mr. President. Of course, nobody knows what was discussed, but it is also significant that meeting held on the very day that Badaru resigned. But you were talking about whether a hood does make a decision. In this particular case, when it comes to security issues, I think it is always better to bring in somebody who has experience, somebody who knows what the issues are, to bring his experience, his competence, his expertise to bear on the security issues. So if you take now somebody who has, and again, the issue of respect, how well will service chiefs, people who are military officers, how well do you think they will respect somebody who has not been in command one way or the other as the minister? Yes, this is a democracy, and therefore the military should subject themselves or subordinate themselves to civilian authority. But like you said, it is not for nothing that when it comes to other countries, people who occupy some of these strategic positions, particularly defense, are people who have military background, people who have seen what it means to be a soldier. So the speculation has been rife since yesterday that General Musa may be coming back as the Minister of Defense.
All right.
We have to wait for President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to make the
official announcement.
But knowing President Bola Tinubu well, I wouldn't also be surprised if he appoints another
politician,
Reno Mokri, tomorrow as the Minister of Defense.
We're coming there. We're coming to that nominee list. We have a caller, sir. Let's take this call. Hi, Musa. Good morning.
From Sokoto.
Yeah. Hello, sir.
Welcome, Musa. Go ahead. Share your contribution.
Thank you, sir. Yeah. So the resignation, people should not see it as something which is not. It's long overdue. In fact, it's not just that you have to represent a state because you are a minister. No, you're somebody who has the capacity, who can deliver, who will have the confidence of the citizens. Because actually, since when this insecurity started, people are even thinking, why?
Somebody who has the knowledge, who has the capacity, is a military man, at least a military man who knows the terrain, should be appointed to that sensitive position.
Okay.
So I don't see it as something which is a matter which has to be discussed. It's a sensitive matter that can be discussed by the citizens. So what the Badr did is he did it in good faith. I believe he does it in good faith because he knew he cannot perform, and even the military to have their allegiance. They need to have somebody who is a senior, a person who controls them initially, like a defense minister, a former chief of defense. If he happens to be appointed, it will have purpose. A former chief of army can be appointed. It will have purpose. But when you appointed a civilian, that was a sensitive position, it will be difficult for him to have the confidence and the support of the military.
Okay, Musa. Okay.
Succeed.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for your call. Let's just move on to the paper. Let's go back to that paper and see another story that I would like to take very quickly, although it has been touched on. Mbad launches high-tech drones equipment to boost security. Nigeria grants asylum to Guinea-Bissau opposition candidate after coup. And at the top, PDP national leadership states give conflicting notices on Osun 2026 Guba primary. Maybe that's why the PDP member had to resign as well. Nigeria's oil output edges up, still misses ambitious targets. But in all of this, one of the big stories so far so good has got to do with the ambassadors list. What's your take on that? We didn't even ask. Let's get your take. Fantastic names.
Really fantastic names. Again, that goes back to what I said earlier. That list, more than any other thing, in recent times, has cast a lot of doubt on what people used to think about President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Don't forget, just the other day, we had the scandal of the prerogative of Messi, the president, share pardons. And people were asking, how could a president sit down and pardon drug barons, pardon murderers, and all that?
Not one, a huge percentage of it. Yeah.
Now, we have, after more than 2 years, you have a list of 32 ambassadorial nominees. If you add the 3 that we announced earlier, the IOK group, we have 35. And all it has generated, rather than confidence, people are asking themselves, is this president for real? How could you do this? Now, you see, you have 17 non-career ambassadors in that list and 15 career ambassadors. We have 109 missions in the world. So what people are saying, why get agitated over a list of 35 people when we have about 70-something still out there outstanding? Look, it is not about whether all of them have been appointed, but they say money shows how the day will be like. How do you populate such a sensitive? Look, even beyond ministers, when it comes to ambassadors, these are people who are going to represent your country. These are the faces of your country in the international community.
At the highest level.
At the highest level.
And what we know about the qualities of a good diplomat, you must have high integrity.
Unblemished records, yeah.
Unblemished record, resourcefulness, and you must have the self-control, the composure that you must not be somebody who has short fuse, like one of the nominees.
So he has
who was attacking a journalist colleague of ours.
Said
yes.
that he has very short fuse. And actually he has very short fuse. So how do you bring in people who are standing trial, some of them, for corruption? How do you bring in people who are known wife beaters into the midst? How do you bring in people who have lied? Because if what one of them said about Mr. President yesterday, and he's coming out today to say, no.
Speaking from both sides of the mouth.
I don't mean those things again. It then means he lied. Ab initio. How do you bring professional liars, professional bootlickers as the face or faces of Nigeria
but
in the international community?
Mr. Amaechi, there's hope, but I'll come to that hope before. Let's take this call. Hello. Good morning.
Good morning.
Uche, go ahead and share your thoughts with us, please.
Thank you for having me. The Northern governor met yesterday, and they agreed to, roll out for 1 billion, which is 19 billion monthly, to tackle insecurity. I'm pleading with them, let the orientation change. Not, empowering youth with many women, marrying, Let the orientation change. Not empowering youth with a wheelbarrow and, shoe shining equipment. Let them focus on education. Let the orientation change. That is my own concern. Otherwise, if you close central bank and the same thing happens, we are going to, achieve nothing. That is my own submission.
Thank you so much, Uche. Uche is spot on. Education, that should be the non-kinetic means, engaging the youths in meaningful activities. But before we went to that call, speaking about the ambassadorial list, I told you, Mr. Amaechi, there's hope. We have the parliament, the people's representatives in the Senate who have constitutional oversight functions to check and also raise the alarm on all these issues you've raised. They have deeper insights because they have intelligence report, they have the DSS at their beck and calling, they can scrutinize this list. So are you not hopeful that some of these red flags that you have raised will be flagged in Abuja at the parliament, and some of these questionable characters will be dropped from the list?
I am not with the present leadership of the Senate or the Senate as a body that stands on the mandate of Mr. President. A Senate whose leadership has publicly said that whatever the president brings to the table, they will go by it. I am not. But if they mean well for Nigeria, but because this is not about the president, this is about public good. This is about Nigeria as a country. If they mean well for Nigeria, I think it is high time they started playing their oversight roles effectively. That does not, playing your oversight roles effectively does not in any way and shape detract from your support for whoever you want to support. But if the idea is to build a Nigeria that all of us will be proud of, a Nigeria that will be there and function well for all its citizens, then they must begin to query and to question some of the things that the president is doing. Ideally, you're talking about security report, but the same security vetted these people, presumably, before the president made their nominations public. So if the security report did not stop assuming there is any negative security report. If he did not stop the president, how is he going to stop the members of the National Assembly from vetting them? But the bigger problem is even what happens to places they are going to be sent to. Because that you nominate an ambassador does not automatically translate to acceptance
At their posting.
At
the place of their posting. I doubt if some of these characters will be able to get the agreement from their places of primary assignment where they will be posted to. And I was speaking with a career ambassador, a friend of mine, the other day. In fact, even before this list was made public. And he was telling me that he is afraid if any of the three that were previously nominated, if they will, who we are told will be posted to either US, London, and all this, whether they will be accepted. And I asked why, and he said, look, that it is a policy in Washington and in London not to accept career intelligence officers as ambassadors. That they don't. That it is only London and Paris that accept career intelligence officers as deputies. But that Washington and London, he was very, very specific. Do not accept career intelligence officers, of course, which IOK and other person
Yes.
is or where, and that it will be very, very difficult for Washington and London to accept them. So there are a whole lot of issues. Do you go out of your way to do? And this, the mistake we continue making is that we think that we are an island. Nigeria is an island, isolated, as it were, from the global community. There is none of these characters that the ambassadors of these countries in Nigeria don't know about. They have their stories, they have their histories, and they have everything about them.
But Mr. Amaechi, there's been pushback from the presidency, and some observers will also say you're painting the picture of a very idealistic world, that the world has changed. Look at the United States, for example. One of the presidential aides did use the example of the UK ambassador to the United States, who's a friend of President Trump, Peter Mendelsohn, as an example. They also cite cases of Marco Rubio, who said many unprincipled things about Trump. Today is his number one diplomat across the world as foreign secretary, that Nigeria is not different, that they call it political pragmatism, that you balance appointments with your friends and associates and cronies, that's the new way the world works.
There was no time Rubio called Trump a drug baron. There are red lines you don't cross. If you say somebody is incompetent, that somebody does not know, fine.
Subject to interpretation.
You can criticize, not when you come and say somebody is a drug baron, that somebody is a criminal, that somebody is, in fact, if there was anything worse than being an armed robber in quotes, this same character said so of our president. I feel belittled that a man would go out of his way, particularly when he is now claiming that those things were false. So what motivated you in the first place to have not said it? And how do you trust a character who will whimsically wake up in the morning and label the president of a country in such derogatory languages that even detract from the integrity of the country itself? Because when you claim that a country has elected a drug baron, do you know what that means? So, whatever Rubio said about Trump in the past, it wasn't about this, and it was about that the man was incompetent, cannot do this and cannot do that. That is understandable. Even if you say that the man does not have the temperament to be a leader, of course, that could be debated. But when you are so pointed
And
specific in your denigration of somebody, I think it is like comparing apples and
we put this question to the former sports minister, Mr. Solomon Dalong. I asked him that what about looking at the president's magnanimity and his fatherliness, his spirit of forgiveness? And he said, when it comes, you can forgive him and give him appointments as an attack dog, but not as a representative
as the face of Nigeria.
Do you share the same sentiment?
But of course it is true. There are so many ways of compensating people who you think have been able to do your dirty job now for you. Because now for me, the only thing Reno Omokri is bringing to the table is that he has turned himself into an attack dog.
And a spin doctor.
And a spin doctor denigrating Peter Obi. So that is his remit, as it were. Just like it is somebody's remit to make sure that whatever happens, PDP does not rise.
I know that person.
Again. So, and it is for that reason that that person will continue to be in position of authority. So, if you want to compensate Reno for the job, great job of demolition you think he has done on Peter Obi, fine. If you think you want to compensate him for the job he has done in running down every other person, fine. But not to put him in a position where he will be the face of the country in the Committee of
It should be compensated
Nations.
locally.
Okay, let's look at one last paper before we go. We're almost out of time. Let's look at the New Telegraph. It has some very interesting stories there. New Telegraph is what we're going to look at. Amid renewed attacks, Defense Minister Badaru resigns, cites ill health. We've taken that story. The big one, $6 billion Mambila fraud. Obasanjo promises to testify. Witness tells court, we're not just talking, we're acting, Fubara says. Fubara is finally saying that he's not talking anymore. He's now acting. Investigation, why I won't appear before Edo Assembly by Obaseki. These are other big stories. But the big one, economy. Nigeria records 3.9% GDP growth in Q3 2025. Wow, that's a leap. What do you make of that?
The rider is also important.
Yes.
It is a leap.
Public debt hits 152.39 trillion naira in Q2 2025.
Again, that is one of the contradictions of the Tinubu administration. This is a president who told us in September that the target revenue was met in August.
No more borrowing.
Yet we are borrowing every day. Our debt profile is rising. What are you borrowing this money for if you've met your target revenue for the year 4 months before the time? It doesn't make sense. I don't know what kind of economics is that, but even the so-called growth of 3.9%, if you say financial services, I will agree. Agriculture, which agriculture? How How?
People can't go to farms.
How? How do you say that
Agricultural exportation has even dropped.
is driving the growth in the economy? Which agriculture?
As journalists, but as journalists, looking at that story, can we really say that this is a true
reflection
story? This is a
of
true
what's going on?
reflection of a journalist's research work? Agriculture?
Or are we just taking it for the face value of it? Have we reached the era where, okay, government gives you figures, you publish, and you don't scrutinize?
You know, this, I think I said this 2 weeks ago when I was here. This government thrives on propaganda. I would have said outright lies. But let me be charitable enough to say they thrive on propaganda. And this is one of those things. You told us in September you've met your revenue target. Still you are borrowing. Now you're saying our GDP is growing. It is now 3.9%.
Yes.
And you said that the sectors that have contributed, that one of them is agriculture. The same agriculture that everybody is saying that insecurity has driven people out of the farmlands. So who is in this agriculture that we're talking about? What are we producing? How could agriculture be one of the sectors that is driving our GDP growth? It doesn't make sense.
These are questions that we'll have to ponder on, million-dollar questions, but unfortunately, we're out of time. So many issues to look at, but I would like to say a big thank you to you, Mr. Ikechukwu Amaechi, for always gracing us with your presence here.
Thank you very much.
The newspaper analysis. And that brings the show to an end. Thank you so much for being a part of this broadcast. The series up next. I am Benga Borowa.
And I'm Joe Hansen. Thanking you for watching. We'll be here again tomorrow morning, bright and early. Stay with us. More programs.
And Lagos State Government, please do something about the state of the roads.